What's up, everybody? It's your favorite biker's favorite nerd. Today we are looking at SHFiguarts Biker Scout with Speeder Bike. He's a thing of beauty. I kind of feel like I've been spoiled a little bit recently with all the great toys I've been looking at between the two Fans Toys releases, and then this. It's almost too much.
I just, for the first time in my life, feel so happy. So many good releases. I mean, what could go wrong? What's this? New Marvel Legends. But this will ruin everything.
Accessory-wise, it comes with this display stand. This is a peg. It goes into the center hole there, and then there's a piece underneath that looks like this that you pop out, put in the box, and then you can have the speeder bike on display. Now, I'll tell you, I intend on having him standing next to his bike on my shelf, but it's nice that they included it. He also has a gun that we'll talk about in a bit, and he comes with an array of hands, including different holding hands. Like, those are obviously the easiest ones to use. There's also these holding hands here, where it's like two fingers are split, the index and ring. I mean, the index and middle, and then the ring and pinky. And there are for both sides. And then he has like two trigger finger hands. At least I thought he did. Maybe those are the trigger finger hands. And then he has like two just fist holding hands, and then he has two fists. The fists are a little small, in my opinion, but we'll talk about that when we get there. And then this back piece can pop off, and you can put this in its stead, so you can have somebody riding on the back of the bike if you'd like. Now, we're going to be comparing him with the Hasbro release, which is here. And the Hasbro release is not bad either. Especially, I know a lot of people ended up getting him at a pretty cheap price. We'll kind of talk about each, and then we'll talk about the bike and then the Trooper independently. The only problem that I have with this, just in terms of how this goes, is that the joints on the figure are pretty tight. So it's a little bit of a challenge to get him to sit on the bike properly. It's not impossible. Just takes some patience, some time, and some effort, a little bit of energy, and you can get that going. But we're going to take him off and set him to the side for just a second, and we'll talk about the bike. So the bike is on a ball joint on this stand, which is nice, so you can articulate it this far down and that far up, and then of course the swivel. Now I plan on, for display mode, keeping it kind of just hovering there, and then I'm going to have him standing next to it. This piece is one single piece of plastic that rotates through the back of the bike. Right here you can see where it's clipped on, and it collapses all the way forward, and it comes down to about there. These back flaps also are on hinges, and they get up. I don't want to, this is an expensive piece, and we'll talk about that at the end. But the clearance on this one, oh look, I wonder, so does this pull out too? Oh, okay, cool. So they both pull out, and then you can articulate them up. So that's nice. And then they both sit back. That's cool. Could have used some paint and some extra detail wear and tear paint there. The rest of the paint is pretty well done, except on pieces like this. So underneath here, could have used some wear and tear here. But the brown bike has a dark brown wash on top of it, and then it has the silver paint chipping all painted on the wear and tear. That looks good. All the red lights are painted. That looks good. All this stuff up here is sculpted. That looks good. There are thin pieces of plastic here, so definitely be careful. All that stuff, it looks fantastic, but could have used a little bit more paint like they did to the brown pieces, I feel like, overall. And then all the cables and stuff, they're all done well. And then the black has this like it's like a shinier piece of plastic, a glossier piece, which is cool. And then this piece looks like it has a light wash on it, but it's definitely not as obvious as the Hasbro one, which we will talk about. And then for the handles here, we have the pistons. Now these are both on one single piece here too. The plastic piece goes in between here. They rotate up and down, and they operate on these pistons, which you know I like. And then there's an additional hinge. Where is it? There, on the handles, so you can kind of position the handles to get into the hands easier. And then also the brakes are on an additional hinge as well. It's a very small piece of plastic, so just be careful. This is not the piece that you want to drop. So let's talk about the Hasbro bike. I'm going to take him off of here, which I'm hesitant to do because he is strapped in, and I'm afraid I won't be able to get him back on there as well. But we'll talk about the stand. So this stand, mine was damaged just coming out of the box. Like I think that this is like the wrong ball joint to have on it. Like it's supposed to be like that, and then this ball joint sits on it. It may have been too tall for my shelf or whatever, but my plastic was damaged right here just getting it out of the box. So I'm going to take him off of there. He doesn't really quite sit 100% on there fantastic either. And it kind of makes his legs look weird because it's the lower knee joint that you utilize there, and it kind of looks a little strange. But outside of that, it's pretty fine. The sculpt here is great. It's just kind of like the finer details where this thing starts to lose a little bit of its fury in comparison to the other. So let me take him off. All right, so on this ball joint here, at least I think that's the right one. Now I'm confused. You can get this down to there, up at a better angle than the SHFiguarts one, and then you get the swivel as well. I got a rubber band trapped up on here. Well, that's not good, is it? So this piece just snaps up in here using tension, which is not done as well. Let me see if I can get this. Actually, you know what? I'm going to keep that rubber band on there so I can hopefully secure him back to it when it's all said and done. These back flaps do rotate as well, and they do have tons of paint up in there. The silver's on there. There's silver wash and then wash on there. Same on this side. That's like a half attempt dry brush there, and this is silver and washed. So there's actually better detail there. Now, their attempts at putting the wear and tear on the bike are not the same. That's a half attempt at a dry brush. I mean, you can see the brush strokes of, you know what I mean, like the individual hairs of the brush on there. So that's obviously not as good. And then there's no movement here. All this stuff is secure. This stuff isn't as well defined. We do have nice red paint there, silver paint there, black paint here, and this looks great. This wash piece on the back there looks fantastic. And then back here, it's more kind of the same haphazardly dry brushed attempt at wear, which doesn't look as good. It just ends up looking like mistakes. Same thing underneath there and with this gun. Now this one has the gun as well, and I didn't talk about it, but it's very sharp and well done. And this one is too, and this one swivels. And let me make sure. This one does not swivel, so that's another strike against the SHFiguarts, to be honest. And that's this bike. It has dry brush silver also on the handles on the outsides, and you know, this has an attempt at a lot of finer points of toy painting. It's just that some of it is done better than others. Hasbro does a better job when they wash stuff than when they try to dry brush stuff. It looks a mess. But their washes look great when they do it, because you know, wash is one of those things that's really easy to do. You can have it on an assembly line. You don't have to put a whole lot of effort into it in order to make it look good. So that's where this excels. The other stuff not so much. Size-wise, can you see that? They're about equal. The proportions are different, but they're about equal lengths. So that's interesting. The scale is pretty good on both. So let's look at the SHFiguarts figure, and then we'll look at the Hasbro figure. He has that white polished finish on all the white pieces. There's not a lot of paint. There's some black paint on the white, and then there's a lot of paint up in the head and then on the backpack and stuff. But for the most part, it's just different color plastics and different finishes. So we'll talk about each piece as we go. So for the head, it's on a double ball peg with a peg up into the head and then down into the torso. The range of motion is just ridiculous. All the way down to there, all the way up to there, side to side. All that stuff, it's pretty well done. Sculpt-wise, it's all sorts of on the money, and we got really sharp paint on the mouthpiece, the nose piece, the little forehead piece, the inside the ears bits, the little thing there so that it can flip up, the little back parts, all that's done extremely well. I'm not sure if that is accurate. I can't remember. Like, it's like black lines painted, and then there's like sculpt for paint there, but it doesn't have it. I'm not sure if that's accurate. Black paint there with the red stripe on the top. That looks good. Torso, we got a double ball peg in the diaphragm, so you get forward to there, and then we have a ball peg down in the waist as well. So you get forward to there, back to there, side to side, and the swivel. Loose floating piece of plastic for the belt. The belt is soft, but it could stand to be a little softer in order to get the best range of motion easily, because the joints are a little tight, and as a result, especially this thigh swivel here, That one's much better. As a result, it kind of hurts you when you're trying to pose them on the bike more than it helps you. Shoulders, you do have the drop down ball peg for the shoulder, typical SHFiguarts kind of use, and then you have the butterfly joint to get you across, so that's nice. Then you have the hinged with the ball joint for the shoulder pad to get you up against the body and away, depending on how you want to pose them, and then you can adjust it as needs be for the sake of aesthetics. You have a bicep swivel, that's also pretty tight, and then the textured strap, all that's sculpted, not painted. And then you have a double jointed elbow, but the top joint doesn't really give you much wiggle room, but you still get it to 90 degrees. And then you have a forearm swivel, which take or leave it, I guess. And then I guess that helps you pose it on the bike ultimately. And then you have the hinge swivel here, and if you want to get rid of these hands, like, we'll pop that off. And I do feel like these hands are a little small. You might feel like he's got baby hands. Pop that off. You see the ball peg exposed. And we'll put in this hand and see if it helps him hold his accessory, which we'll talk about here in a second. That goes on. He has the accessory in his holster. The accessory is pretty cool. Just the sculpt and everything of it is pretty dead on. I hope you can see that. Just very, very accurate. And we'll see if he... Oh, that's why the two fingers are split. That makes sense now. And wrap it in there. Holds it like a champ. No problem whatsoever. Articulation is the same for the other side. You just have to pick a hand that kind of works for you. We have hinge, basically universal joints for hips. It's almost like so the hinge gets you out to there, as you can see the side hinge there. So it gets you out to there and then up to there. So even fighting against all the soft goods, it's still pretty good. Not soft goods, but softer plastic. Back to there. This thigh swivel is really tight on mine, so be conscious of that. And then this is a softer piece of plastic that is glued into the upper waist for the diaper look, which is always a bit ridiculous for these guys. And then you have a double jointed knee, which gets you back to there. We got sculpted pockets and stuff and straps and wrinkles in the pants and all that stuff. That stuff looks good. The double jointed knee, I wish that this knee pad here would have been stuck to it. I think it would have just hid the sculpt a little bit better. And then we have an ankle tilt that gets you back to there, which isn't great. Up to there, a toe tilt, and then a rocker built in. The holster's right there. There's a side piece glued on. Same for the other side. White paint on the brown plastic there on the bottom, and that looks pretty good. So now we'll look at the Hasbro one. For this guy, we have a ball hinged head, so you get down to there, up to there, side to side. Not nearly as much range, but not as bad either. It looks pretty good. This is a pretty well-made figure as well. The proportions do get a little weird. Like, they're opposite, right? Like, so his chest is wider than his abdomen. His abdomen is wider than his chest, which is a little bit strange. It's a ball joint, though, and then it has an orange wash on these crevices to add a little bit of shadow to the armor, so that's all pretty cool, and you get the swivel there, nothing at the waist. And even that swivel's not the best, but it is okay. Then you get these shoulders, and these shoulders seem very indented to me. Like, he seems like he has a very narrow shoulders, which makes it look like a kid wearing his dad's Biker Scout suit. But the ball hinge shoulders get you out to there, and you can really see it there when you have his arms out, how narrow it looks, which is not my favorite thing in the world. Swivel there, bicep swivel, which we don't see on Star Wars Black Series very often. The white is painted. It's hit or miss in typical Hasbro fashion. Double jointed elbow. The elbow is washed with the same orange they use there, which I guess is supposed to be dirt because they use it on the boots, but it would be weird, I guess, that it's on the elbow and not on the forearm. Like, I think that's a bit strange. All this stuff there, you see the black and the red, that's all done as well. And then the gray is painted on both sides there. We have T-jointed ball joints for hips getting you out to there. I guess we didn't do the wrists. Wrist swivel, hinge up and down on this one, and hinge up and down on that one, so they're identical. We also have the blaster in his boot. And does he hold it? He does. It's not nearly as well done. And the gun itself is not nearly as well done, but he does hold it just fine. And then we have a thigh swivel that works fine. All the wrinkles and texture in the pants is all done. That all looks great. Double jointed knees, getting you the full range. The wash here on the boots, it's like obvious where they stopped it. That looks a little weird. It's like he stepped in mud and then stepped out of it, as opposed to just dirt kind of kicking up on his boots. But that's a personal preference thing. It just bothers me. I do like how they did the knees better in the sense of putting the pad here. I don't think the knees look as good overall. Hope that makes sense. Ankles, we have a tilt all the way up to there and back to there, and the rocker is built in like a Marvel Legend, so that's good. And then we have the wash on the shoes, which does look good with the brown painted on the bottom. All that stuff is good to go. So I'll put them next to each other so you can see how they kind of size up next to each other. So there they are, Hasbro on the left, SHFiguarts on the right, and I think that SHFiguarts definitely nails the proportions and overall sculpt a lot better. If you look at the Hasbro one, especially with this leg here, because of the softer materials that are being used for the plastics, he has what we call the Biker Scout syndrome, which is a lot of the Biker Scout toys that have been made by Hasbro and Kenner before them have got that bow-legged look from having to be able to ride the bike. And it's definitely happened to him on the SHFiguarts one. It has it a little bit, but not so much. And you can kind of get around it by making him stand straighter. The Hasbro one, even standing as straight as you possibly can, still looks like he has that like I just rode a horse all day kind of look. I mean, obviously, this one is a much more balanced figure, as it should be. I mean, the price it should match the price point to the best it can. Whereas this one, it does, it's just like everything else. It just takes a little bit more effort at what you're kind of getting here. But overall, I don't think that either of them are bad. It's just interesting to take a look at them and compare them. The SHFiguarts one is better made. For the most part, it's better painted. However, the Hasbro one does apply washes to the bike a lot better than the SHFiguarts one kind of leaves the bike unfinished in a lot of places. However, the bike itself is much better made. It's much more intricate. It's much more interesting to look at on the SHFiguarts side than it is the Hasbro side. I like the SHFiguarts stand better. As far as the figure goes, the SHFiguarts one blows the Hasbro one out of the water, but the Hasbro one isn't bad either. And this is what it comes down to, ladies and gents. Let's talk turkey. I got the SHFiguarts Biker Scout for $175, and I probably overpaid between $10 and $15, maybe 25 tops. The Hasbro one was $40. I think at retail, and then it went down. Shout out to Pinkerton. I talked to him a little bit earlier today, and he got his for like $15 when he got his, and that's a steal. Is the SHFiguarts one $100 better or $125 better? Probably not. But the SHFiguarts one is so good that I have zero regrets in spending the amount of money that I did for it. I've literally been messing with this thing all day. My battery is down to 9 minutes left on the cell for the camera, and I've had it charged since last night. It's just when I went to shoot this thing, I couldn't stop messing with the Figuarts one for a point now where my battery is now run out of juice because it's just been sitting uncharged while I've been messing around with it. So here's the beauty. You're a collector in a modern age, in a time when lots of stuff is coming out, lots of options are available to you. I'm a guy that likes to troop build, so having two different sculpts and variations it's music to my ears. I'll get a Mafex one too if they put that one out. And on top of that, I can now have one Biker Scout standing next to a bike and one Biker Scout on the bike. And the one that I'll have standing next to the bike is the one that I think does a better job of displaying the figure, which is the SHFiguarts one. However, I won't lie to you when I say it is a lot of money. It's a lot of money for what you get in comparison to an option out there that's around $100 cheaper. So if you're pinching pennies, I'd say it's not necessarily worth it. If you got the money, by all means, don't let this thing get by you because it is a tough figure. Very, very imposing, very, very cool, great likeness, great sculpt, great paint, great attention to detail, and fantastic articulation. Wish the joints were a little looser and a little easier to move to manipulate them and to get them on the bike, but outside of that, I don't have many complaints. Add in a little extra wash on that bike, add in a little smoother joint here and there on the figure, and you'd have yourself a perfect unit. Outside of that, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.